Hi, this is Dee with Click Create Capture. I'm going to show how to do a quick edit in Photoshop Elements. I use Photoshop Elements 9, but this can apply to most of them. The first thing you want to do is go to File, Open, and find the folder which your file is in, and I already have it there. Click on your image and click Open, and your image should pop up. This image was originally shot in RAW, but I saved it as a JPEG with no edit, so that I could show this without opening it in ACR. I will show a tutorial later on how to edit when you open it in ACR first. But for this one, I'm just opening it directly into Elements. The white balance is off and it is underexposed. So to correct this, I want to correct the white balance first. To do that, you want to create a new adjustment layer, which is right here on the bottom right. It's a little half circle, half black, half white circle. It creates a new fill or adjustment layer. When you click on it, it will show you a list of different items. And I am going to do a levels adjustment layer. And click levels. In the levels adjustment layer, it will pop up the red, green, blue layer level. And if you have a gray card, you can just set your gray point, click on your gray card, and it should adjust your white balance to what your image is at. I don't use gray cards, although I probably should. It will really help you if you get one. You could use the auto and just let Elements try to figure out what it should be at. I don't usually use that because it is not very accurate. So I'm going to still set my gray point with this little gray dropper. And to do that, I'm just going to try to find where there is a neutral gray in the image. And most images have some point of neutral gray. I know that she's got a sort of neutral gray, back here little gray specks. I'm just going to click around until it looks pretty close. That still looks off a little bit, so I'm going to adjust the color by going into each level. So it's a red, green, blue level. If you click on it, it will drop down red, green, blue. And you can go to each level and adjust accordingly. I'm going to click red. It looks like it's got too much red to me. And when I did that, set that gray point, it adjusted the red, this little mid-tone point right here. When it's center, this is what it looked like. Move it towards the left, it's going to increase your red. Move it towards the right, it's going to increase your cyan. It had it at 1.3. I'm going to probably put it down to 1.24. That looks a little better. And the next step, you go to green. That looks about right on my green. Just like on the other one, green's on this side. So move it to the left, you get green. Move this to the left, you get green. Move it to the right, opposite of green, is magenta. So you can adjust your magenta this way. And the last level is blue. And the opposite of blue would be yellow. So move it to the left, blue, and move it to the right, yellow. I like my images warm, so I'm going to add a little bit more yellow to it. Probably about an 8. Well, probably 11. I like that better. And you can just adjust accordingly to what you feel the color looks about right. If you're not calibrated, that's not going to help out. You could use the numbers. I don't use numbers because, which is OC89. That looks about right on my numbers, but I don't use numbers because the color, your numbers can change from person to person on skin tones, and from just the same person, just go to different lighting situation, your numbers are going to change. I just go by what I remember the skin tone looking like when I photographed them. So that is my first step. The second step is going to brighten the image up. And to do that, I don't do a brightness or contrast, I use another levels adjustment layer. So you go to adjustment layer, new one, click levels, and keep it on red, green, blue. And when you keep it right here, this will control your midtones. This is going to control your highlights, help brighten your image up. And this is going to control your shadows and darken your image. I am going to brighten it up a bit, right there. I'm going to increase my midtones. I usually keep it at 1.2, but this one was a little darker, So 1.28 is where I'm going to put it at. And right there it looks kind of bland because there's no contrast. So I'm going to add in some more depth in my shadows by moving the black over to the right a little bit. And I'd say about 14 for this image. And you just adjust this however you like. It's your personal preference. If you want more contrast, you could move it to the right more. Less, move it to the left more. I'm going to keep it right there at 14. So I go back to layers. These will probably pop up differently. I have mine saved like this, so your adjustments may be down here on a separate little box. Either way, you want to go back to layers. And this is what a nice clean edit looks like. And this is just correcting white balance and the exposure. And this is what the before, and this is your after. Alright, after I get the nice clean edit, I will always add a gradient map. And to do that, you go to new layer and click on the gradient map adjustment layer. And gradient map, I will do a tutorial on that later on what gradient maps are. I already have one written out, just need to upload it. Essentially what it is it adds color into your shadows, midtones, highlights. And you can adjust it. And this is good for black and whites. And it's great for, here's a little different black and white. And it's great for creative processing. If you want to do like vintage coloring and sepia and all that stuff, you can use this. I'm going to click a one that I've already created myself. I saved this one's custom. And it's a skin tone colored gradient map. So this is just a nice dark brown, but still pretty light on compared to the browns. And this is about a natural yellowy skin tone. And this is the light part of the skin tone. Might darken that a little bit. So that's my own custom one. You can just mess around with it and find what works best for you. And I hit OK. Then go back to layers. And that looks kind of funky when it's on normal. So you can adjust it to be overlay, which I don't usually use on them, except for on certain ones. And on this one I use soft light. So this is what it looks like on full 100%. I never keep it on 100%. I will bring it down to about 55 around there. So it just kind of brightened my image up and warmed it up, add a little warmth in there. And I think it adds a little, it changed the eye color a little bit, which it usually does. So to get rid of that, I'm going to color in black on my mask. This is your mask. Controls what my gradient map is applied to. And if it's white, it is applied to it. And if it is black, it is not. So I will color over the eyes with my black paintbrush. Although it's really low. Okay. And you can see right now, bam, the eyes change color. And you can look at my gradient map. There's a little bit of black dots where I had erased that off of there. So after that step, I will use dodge burning to burn the background and dodge the subject. I usually always do that. And it makes the subject stand out more from the background. And to do that, you could use the dodge burn tool. I don't use them because they are destructive. And I usually just create a non-destructive new layer and dodge burn that way. But it's a personal preference. If you want to duplicate your background and use dodge burn that way, you can. But to do it the way I do it, you will go to layer, click new, and click layer. And drop down this mode to where it says overlay. And then there's a little checkbox underneath it. You want to check it. It's just to fill it with the 50% gray. And hit OK. And then you'll have a new layer where it looks like just a gigantic gray box. And you'll use a paintbrush. I use a soft paintbrush, so I just click one. Oops. And I usually increase the size of it to about 900. And I'm going to adjust the opacity so when I burn it's not too strong. You can also just adjust later on. Black will burn, which means just darken it. So as you see, if I color over it with this black paintbrush, it's just kind of darkening where I'm painting. And I'm just going to darken the background up a little bit. And I'll probably darken her shirt slightly. I'll go ahead and correct that in a minute. dodge, that's when you paint on white. That will just brighten your image. I also decrease the opacity to around 9%, 10%. Because when you dodge it, it's really strong. And since she's already fair toned, it's going to really be strong. So I just kind of paint over where she is. And the reason why I use a soft brush at low opacity is so you don't get these harsh lines that could be caused by a hard brush. And when you use higher opacities. Alright, and that's what it looks like with Dodge Burn on there also. And that's at 100%. I don't usually keep it at 100%. You can adjust it if you like it not as strong to about 20%, 10%. I like mine about 80, 75%. I like it a little stronger. It's a personal preference. Alright, so that is usually how I do it. A normal edit in Photoshop Elements. I would also probably clean up the face and maybe pop out the eyes, but they look fine to me. That's about all I do though. And here's what the before looked like, and here's the after. And I hope you all enjoy, and I will see you next time. Thank you.